We finished with the first pass. The first pass allowed us to rough out our shape and more understand our reference. The next step is to go on with what we have and try to obviously understand it some more and start putting more geometry in and getting more refined shapes. So now we'll have more geometry, which as we go further we'll have more and more, and the management of the topology is kind of is what's become difficult instead of exploring the shape, since we'll already have that. I'm actually looking at the character again, and I'm looking at the distance between here and here, and it looks like his knees are bent a lot. So that might prompt me to bring up the character some, because his legs really seem really short. So I'm going to be tempted to come here and make that correction. So we'll grab this and just kind of bring this up, maybe somewhere around here. So none of this is written in stone, and again we're exploring and we're using what we were delivered. So here we have this part. Let's go ahead and start adding geometry. I'm going to insert edge loop here. Now this may be an area where we're going to want to have this exactly down the center. So if we go to edit mesh, insert edge loop, option box, I'm going to do equal distance from edge. So that actually didn't do what I wanted. So let's go ahead and just grab this. Okay, so I stand corrected. I want relative distance here, and then I'm just going to get as close as I can. I always saw this here, and I was always wondering what it would have been. So there we go, and I'm also curious what you know what? I can actually do this. I can actually go multiple edges, put 3 in here, and then that will split down exactly down the middle. So I can grab these edges and then do control right mouse button click, 2 edge loop, and delete. It's too soon to start having start putting in that much geometry in at the same time. So this is an area where we're going to add an edge, round off the forms, because when you're modeling you do not want to have straight lines, and we'll see that, or when you're modeling characters for the most part, you're going to be comparing everything to a straight line, and how that arc will relate to and where the weight of that arc is compared to a straight line. So we'll see more of that. So here we don't want the sides of the character to be as far out in Z as the chest, because we have a curve here. So if we look down the center, we're going to imagine a line coming down the middle here, and we're going to hit this portion, and you're going to want to visualize that this is coming out a lot further than this. There's a distance here that's going back, so we want to put that shoulder back as well. So we're going to grab this and we're going to pull this back. We can use our reflection. So if we hit control space bar here, double click this, and alright, and then we'll just go and bring down reflection. Now we can go ahead and pull this back, and that will reflect. Now let's go and see how far back this is going. This looks like, I'm going to assume that this is the center of the head, so the shoulder is really going to come back to where the center of the head is going to be, which is going to be the center of the side is going to be, which is going to be kind of right around here. So what I can do, I can put another edge loop in here. So I can do insert edge loop tool. It's going to put in my 3, and I'm going to make sure that that's in the center there. So I'm going to do control right click, 2 edge loop, and delete. So now this gives me kind of a guide where I'm going to try to bring this right around here. So we'll bring that back, and then we'll grab this, and then we'll push this back as well. Okay. And these guys will be scaled down to accommodate that, since the arm tapers down. So since I pulled that back, I'm obviously going to want to do the same thing for the neck and the hips. So we'll pull that back, and we'll get that. And then we did this on the side, so we should do this on the front as well, since this should not be flat. If we look here, we'll imagine a line coming down here. There should be a distance coming out from the front, from this front back. So we'll go ahead and round that off as well. And then we'll do that with all these points. So the center line would be the furthest point out. Yes, you can pull the center line out and down. It may seem more efficient to do it that way, but a lot of time, if you have the outer edges where you want them to be, you're not going to want to. Move them. So if you like the position of this side line, and if it matched your side reference, pulling it out, yes, we'll round it off, but it will no longer match your reference. So most of the time I use this center line as a guide for me, and then move everything else with the exception of that center line. So the back isn't usually flat like that, so we'll round this off a little bit. Do the same thing here. Pull this back, and then in. And then we got this on the bottom. Maybe pull that in, and then up. So there we are. And this will probably come down. Yeah. So we're roughing out this shape. I'm going to grab this guy in edge mode and just slide this back. Cool. So he's definitely feeling thinner right now. As we add more geometry, I can add more weight down here. I might want to pull this out just a bit more, since I have this distance here, and it's supposed to taper out. So we'll just kind of do that. Alright. So this is kind of the first round pass that we're doing to the character. Let's round out the shoulders a bit. Maybe pull that down, pull that down. Since we're doing a lot of tweaking, let's enter multi-mode. So all we have to do is just click and then kind of move, and then, okay, there's one more thing that we'll do. We'll hit Control Spacebar, and then within our move tool settings, we can just double click here, and we'll turn on tweak mode, which will allow us to go ahead and just click and drag and just move points. So that in combination with the multi-mode will let us move points, faces, and edges without a problem. So this will definitely speed up our work. Now, keeping anatomy in mind, we do have traps here, so even though it's a cartoony character, we'll kind of keep that in mind when putting in shapes. So we'll use the traps and kind of get that there, the trapezius muscles, and that will kind of give us an inspired shape there. So let's play with this. We'll play with that arc a bit. Bam, bam. Round off our hands, or the ends of our nubs. Round this off, and round that off. Cool. I'm feeling the chest will be smaller, so we can kind of pull this in. Also, we can get another inspired move with the clavicle. Clavicle kind of V's out, so since I have this mirrored, the center line is kind of stuck. So we'll just, we can hit Shift W, I think it is, or Control W. Let's see. Or Shift W right mouse button click. This will give us the settings. No. Cool. I guess not. I remember hitting Shift W right click in the past, and it would give me the move tool settings. But here, I'm just going to turn off my reflection. Oh. And then let's go ahead and just bring this down a little bit, or just click. We'll get our manipulator by turning off tweak. So now we'll have our manipulator back, and let's go ahead and bring that down a little bit. So that's a little inspired move by having the clavicle. And then let's turn on reflection one more time, and then we'll go ahead and kind of narrow down this neck a bit. So turn off reflection so we can move this and just kind of play with that. So now we're getting some play with the silhouette here for the torso, and it's beginning to feel more like a character. Maybe not like our character quite yet, but it's not far off. Let's kind of pull this in a little bit. So a lot of time, most of my time is spent understanding the character. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm feeling maybe the neck is a lot longer than what I have. So I might want to go ahead and just make that change. So I'm going to turn on my soft selection, bring down my radius by holding down the B button, and then just start pulling up. Okay, so with this, we'll go ahead, we'll select this loop, turn off my soft selection, and then we'll scale. We'll just scale down a bit. Maybe scale that a little flatter. Okay, so now we just have this simple shape here, and then probably want to play with this a bit more. Kind of pull this in a bit. I'm going to assume that this is the center line that I'm going to want for the neck, the back of the neck. So I'm going to pull those in. And I'm already losing my mirror half, so what we can do our proxy already. So we don't have to worry about reflecting and stuff. So we'll just delete you. Just like these guys. Delete you, and then we'll go ahead and do a proxy here. We'll go to proxy, sub-D proxy option box, and then with this we're going to go ahead, we'll have subdivision 1. I'm going to want to have half enabled. Let's go ahead and just reset settings. I'm going to have 1 half enabled, and I'm modeling on my positive X, so I want to mirror in negative X right here. I really don't care about a merge. And then we're going to want to move our proxy shader to keep, because if we do this, the original will be transparent, which is not what I want. So if I do keep, now we can see our proxies going over to the opposite side. For the most part, most of my pipeline, I don't care how this thing looks smooth. I just want to have my shapes kind of move over. So I'm going to bring my exponent level down to 0. So now as I come here, I can go ahead and move points and it mirrors over. So now let's go ahead and we'll do, let's open up our outliner. Since when you do a proxy, it's going to make a group for you, and that can get cumbersome. So let's at least red panda group. So that's going to be the group that houses the entire red panda, and then I'm going to call my proxy right proxy. So there. So now I have proxy and everything is clean and organized for us. So let's just continue on. For the most part, we have things going with the torso. They're looking okay. We can definitely use another loop in here. Actually, that's not too bad, but I wouldn't want to do it that way. So let's go to our option box. Again, that is the same thing as coming here, going to edit mesh, insert edge loop tool, option box. So here, we'll just go relative, and then I'll just do one at a time. And I only added that for parameterization of the to make these faces a lot smaller, and it's going to give me a little more to round off a little bit, just a little bit. Okay. Now I can add another loop here for the body. That's going to allow me to round that off a bit more, and it's going to give me geometry for the face. I haven't touched the face yet. So now with this, I can go ahead and grab this, and all I'm looking at is this flat line. I just want to round that off so it's no longer flat. Alright, I'm just looking at these 3 points and just saying, you know what, you form a straight line, I don't want you to. So I break it in that way, and I could break it this way. And then I'll do the same thing here, and then pull that out. Now I have kind of a straight line here. I just need to see how the play on the belly is going to go, and I'm looking at this line. It comes out and kind of comes in then out again, so this line can actually come back in a little bit, and then this will pucker out. So we'll have kind of our chest, and then kind of an area that recedes in, and then we'll have kind of our pelvis region. Everything is still really blocky though, so we've got to take our points and just kind of move them out in all directions. So I'm moving them out this way, and then this is straight, so we'll pull them back as well. So we'll just go ahead here, we'll pull this back, start rounding this off some more, that way. And I'm kind of feeling a couple things. I have an instinct right now to start making a radial loop for this arm. I'm not really concerned too much about deformation yet, but when I am, one of the areas that I make sure that I have is kind of a radial loop going around this arm area to give more range of motion for that arm. So I think I'm going to want to just pull these back some more. Just exaggerate this arc a bit. Maybe I pulled this a little too far back. No. This needs to come back. 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 Back, you filed edge loop. Alright, so we'll have that. Round this off. Now what's going to happen eventually, the way I do things, I'll draw in my radial loops, and I'll do something called upresing, where these points that used to come in and form a point will now go and add more geometry throughout the mesh. So I refer to upresing as a way to add more geometry, and so I can get certain topologies that I want. So that's kind of that. Let's grab you guys. Let's go ahead and enable our multi and tweak mode, so we can go ahead and just start tweaking these. Oh, let's turn off reflection. Oh, it is off. How strange. I'm just going to reset tool, tweak mode, and multi. Let's see if that fixes anything. Yep. Alright. So I'm going to kind of bring this up here to help support this trapezius area. Just kind of bring these points back. Kind of bring that out. The back, I'm going to kind of start putting an arch in for the back. I'm going to turn off tweak mode so I can get a manipulator here and start working with that. And then we'll just round this off some more. Cool. So I'm kind of looking at this eventually. Some of this geometry might, I'm going to need more geometry coming in across this way. So that's something to keep in mind. But we're still really early on in the game. We're, 50 minutes into this, and we'll have plenty of time to kind of shape this out. This is a pretty flat line. I'm going to bring these in a bit. So I'm going to kind of follow in this step where this kind of comes out, bulks, pushes in, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. And that's going to be kind of an area where it's on tweak mode. Where the hips can kind of bulge out a little bit, since I'm getting that feeling that it does, and I'm getting that from this line here that comes out. This is letting me know, hey, this is going to bulge out a little bit. So that's what I'm getting here, a little bulge. So we got that. And once we start worrying about topologies more, I might have more of a radial here as well for the hips. Alright, so I'm kind of avoiding the head a little bit, only because I love working on heads, and I might spend a little too much time on the head. So I'm just making sure that I'm getting everything up to par. I've been known to model the head alone and then just kind of extrude the body from the head. There's nothing wrong with that, but it can be difficult to follow and understand. So the body is getting to a point where the resolution is going to the resolution that it's at now is going to demand me to focus more on topology. Since I'm getting quite a few points in here, I'm going to need to start paying attention to that. So I may not want to add too much more. So let's grab this. We can just double click. Nope. Oh, because I have tweak mode on. So let's double click. And then we'll slide that down just a little bit, just to give that neck more length. And then now we can start breaking down let's go ahead and put a wrist in here. Let's figure out where that wrist is going to be. We can just go edit mesh, insert edge loop tool, and then we'll just go ahead and bring that here. So I'll figure our wrist will be there, and I just eyeballed it. I was staring at the wrist here, and just scale that down a bit. Since the wrist kind of, the arms tapered down to the wrist, and then you kind of have these mitts that are these hammers that come out a little bit, or nubs. I don't know how you want to look at that. So, all right. So we got that, and then while we're at it, let's go ahead and figure out where the elbow will be. So we'll get that, and let's see. We'll give more weight to the upper arm here, and then let's go ahead and give this this curve. A design that you'll see a lot is you'll have straight lines and arcs, and if I put the arc down here, the straight line will be on top. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. For the most part, as far as keeping bends in the arms, that works with characters that won't have the arms bending in every direction. But a lot of time with stylized characters, you want to keep your geometry as straight as you can. So in this case, this could just end up being just kind of flesh that comes down, and not a bent arm or anything. So just keep that in mind. So we'll just go weight that. We'll put more of an arc in the back here, and we're really low on geometry here, so we don't want to push it too much. So we'll go ahead, we'll do this, and then maybe take this and just pull it back a little bit. So we want to be happy with the general shape and the weight and posture of the character, and then we'll start worrying about topologies. Okay, so now I can go ahead and add some loops, and again now shift edge loop, and I did the edge insert edge loop tool. So I'm just going to go ahead and just position this, and this will be our knee. I'm just going to go ahead and scale this down. Since I haven't focused much on this, I don't have to be real careful with this. So I'm just going to scale and just kind of figure this out a little bit. Add a slight weight to the front, and that's just going to make it slightly more appealing to me and help me understand the character. Again, you're going to want to keep your appendages as straight as you can. One, is going to help with the rigor. It's going to help them take the joint chain and just draw it straight, which they'll love. And two, it will give the animator flexibility to bend the arm in any which way that they see fit, which control for an animator is very important. Okay, so with this, we'll go ahead and round off the head a bit. So we'll go ahead and we'll need geometry in the center of the head. Now, with design, you can look at the rule of thirds and figure out where your head, where your features are within thirds. So you can split everything in half. So here we have kind of our head unit, and then towards the bottom of the mass, we have our eyes and features. So more or less, the eyes and stuff are on the lower third of our mass. So you can have things on the lower third, you can have things in the center, the halfway line, or you can have things higher up. So I could also place the eyes up here and then position maybe the muzzle in the center. But in this case, the weighting of the features are on the lower third. So that's something to keep in mind when positioning your geometry. But we're not even there. We're not even on features yet. So maybe worrying about that a little prematurely. So we'll go ahead, grab multiple edge loops. We'll just do our 3 thing again, and then we broke this up into 5 pieces. I think 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. And then I'm just actually gonna get rid of this. That's just my way of getting things exactly in the center. 2 edge loop and delete. So now I have something in the center, and then I can go and play with these shapes. I'm going to have this be my furthest out point, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring this down. If I did not, because looking at the position of the head and relationship to the body, if I were to pull this out, I'm going to have features coming really far out of the body. And when I did my units originally, this was kind of the bounding box. So I don't want to go further from here. I'm just going to want to recess into it. So looking at this, looking at our image, I'm going to imagine I have an imaginary line coming down here. That's what I'm looking at. Then I have another line coming here. So this is kind of my center line. This is because the head is kind of down. So I'm going to imagine the center to be here. So from here to here, I can see kind of a slope. So I'm imagining a slope. So I'm just going to go ahead and just bring this back and then down. All right, that's going to give me the slope that I was imagining, for the head, So we have that. And then I can imagine the back. I can imagine a lot of these features are weighted forward, and then this is going to be pretty tight, so I'm not going to have much of a slope in the back. Another measurement that can come useful to figuring out how the back of the head is going to go is the positioning of the nose. This is going to give me where the back cranium is going to be. So here I have this nose, and then I'm going to have kind of maybe a ball wherever I decide that nose is going to be. So since this is the halfway mark, I haven't done anything here yet. If I add another loop in here, so if I do the insert edge loop tool, it's going to add 3, and I can get rid of these 2. Control right click to edge loop and delete. This will more or less be where my nose is, so that will give me a marker where I can bring the weight for the cranium here, the back ball of the head. Okay, so I will round this off, though. I'm not going to round it off terribly much, but I will. And then maybe add a little more weight pulling up this way to kind of give an almond shape, because I'm looking at this and we are getting kind of an almond shape here, an oval. So I'm going to want to have that on my character. So I'm just going to kind of weight that up a bit. So, and I've only done this in one angle, so I rounded this off in one angle. So if I look at this from this side, it's not going to look very appealing. That's probably the biggest hurdle that you're going to have to come across. You're going to have to, especially when working with just one image, yes, you're identifying a shape, but you have to remember that you have to round things off in all your views. So here we're going to grab this, and then we can start to round this off this way. Okay, and then let's see. So then we'll just round this off this way, and then I might pull this in even further. Okay, this is going to be my center line here, so I can do the same thing with these guys. Maybe just pull this down just a bit and then in. I don't want to do it too much because the head seems to be wider from left to right than it is in its depth. So whatever my depth is, I want to make sure the width is wider than that. And then this comes in a lot. So the corners of the mouth, the bottom portion, this is going to come in quite a bit. Okay, so now that I have that, this is starting to make slightly more sense to me, so I can go ahead and I feel more comfortable pulling that in, because before it felt a little foreign. So okay, alrighty. These features, they need to be inset more. So they need to be pushed in this way and this way. Okay, So I'm just kind of rounding off that way just a bit. I'm still keeping this pretty far out. Let's grab our multi-tool. Just kind of pull that out. And then this is going to be our brow here. So I get to pull in the brow. The brow is one of those features that you're going to want to keep in mind while you want to keep a checklist of where your brow is. And we're going to get more into that when deciphering 2D images. There's a checklist that you're going to need in order to convert your character to 3D properly. The brow is one of them. Your upper lids, the region from the top lid to the brow area, you're going to have, it's actually outlined here for us. Your eye bag area underneath, how that's going to work. Your cheek area, these are all marker points. So we'll figure this out. I probably should have added some more marks, because it looks like here we have the center of the head, then we have a width. The eyes are within kind of an inner third from the center to the side. So whatever, what's a good view for this? So whatever in the front view here, we have a distance from here to here. So we want the eyes to actually reside, we'll have the eye center here. So this is actually a great place for the eye center, and then yeah, we'll play around with the distancing, because here we have one eye unit between these two. So I'll keep this line where it is for that eye middle part. Okay. This will pull in a bit. And just kind of get that there. And let's see. Kind of feeling maybe pulling this back a bit. So I'm just going to pull all this back, and then we can extrude our muzzle out, which will be here. We'll just select these guys. Boom, boom. Extrude. And then we'll assume right now that will be kind of this muzzle area, and which is kind of a checkpoint for us. I'm just doing this to visually help me. Normally I might do this a little later, or I would do this now, how exactly how I'm doing it. But conceptually, to view this as a tutorial, I think having this come out with the other points of reference, like the eyes, would help a little bit. But I just feel more comfortable getting that in now. So we'll round that off a bit. So we have this muzzle here. When you think about your eyes, think about the eye cavity, which will get a couple areas for you. It will get your cheeks, it will get your eyes, and it will get your brow situated. So that's kind of an important area to think of. I'm looking at this bottom area, and this is flat, so I'm going to make this flat. You know, I don't want this round or overly round. So I'm getting that same feeling here with this. And I'm looking at this, roughly the end of this area is getting to the end of the corner of the eye, and I feel the eyes aren't going to come out that far. I feel like the eyes are going to come here. So I'm just going to go ahead and just bring this in. So I feel more or less that's where the eyes would go. And yeah, I definitely feel that. And then I can pull these in slightly more, since the upper part is kind of more slanted. Cool. Okay. So we have that. This area is flat, so we'll round that off just a bit. Whoop. Kind of round off our shape, so when we look at things from the top down, they're not flat completely. So Bam. Bam. Alright. So we're getting our shapes in place. We do have a flat region here, but I don't really want to move these points yet. It will, you know what? I'll shut up and then just kind of round it off because I feel more comfortable rounding it off. I just want to be careful, mindful not to move these too much in X, because that's more or less where my center eye is going to be. This area, this region, will be where our nose is going to be. But before I get that in, I really want to get kind of an eye in here. So something that I do quite often for my eye is a chamfer. So I can go ahead and you can do an extrude, I think will work too. It would, but it actually moves it, translates the point. So if we hit shift right click, we can do chamfer vertex, or we can go here and we can do, I see it down, chamfer vertex, and that's going to give us kind of an eye. We're going to go inside of our history and see if there are any attributes that we can play around with. So we'll select this, and then we should have delete, probably chamfer, and then we're going to bring up our width a little bit. So middle mouse button drag, and 0.5 is as far as we can go. And you know what? To be honest, it's not that bad of a position. That's definitely the width that we want. Now the eye for their character is a lot lower. It's not as high as it is wide. So we're going to want to go ahead and do that. So we're starting to kind of get the position for where the eye is kind of blocked out. There's a lot of geometry to clean up, but something that I keep in mind when I'm modeling, as you're working, you will always have more stuff to clean up until you're finished. Alright, so if getting things all quadded out and clean is important for your workflow, since it's going to break tools that you have or it won't render properly, then you're going to need to clean that up. But who says that you have to do it every second? I make the analogy of cutting wood. When you're in shop, it's important to clean up your workspace. Like if you're sawing wood in half, it's important to clean that up. But you're not going to stop what you're doing every instant you get some wood chips. I usually find that people starting off, they tend to do that a lot. So just try not to do that. I find you spend so much time cleaning something up when it would have cleaned itself up naturally during the modeling process. That's all. Alright, so we're getting a shape for the head. It's feeling, I don't know, it's feeling a little wide, maybe. In which direction, I'm not quite sure. Maybe here. I might want to start rounding this off, and that might alleviate some of that. Cool. Yeah, let's start rounding this off a bit. And I'm feeling that the forehead might come down more in a slope. So I'm going to lock that axis by hitting Control and left mouse button clicking our axis, or the x-axis there. So when I do this, I'm only able to move, when I grab in the middle, I'm only able to move in those two axes. See, I'm moving to the right and it's going back. So I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of maybe pull that down a little bit, rotate it. I'll just keep it there. Alright, so grab this point, maybe slide it back a little bit. that multi-mode is invaluable. So I got to make sure to remember to use that with the tweak. Actually, the tweak tool is the function that I like the most, probably. So now I'm sliding this back just a little bit. Just playing around with these shapes. Now I think the brow is going to be right around here, which is a lot lower than what where I have it, I believe. So let's go ahead and kind of bring that down there. So I think that's starting to feel a little better to me. And I'm being slightly more cautious, but I have to be mindful not to be overly cautious with this. Here, this does not come up where the eye is, so I'm kind of losing space here. So I want to make sure that I have a gap between these two pieces. So, and that's actually, in that gap is where our cheekbone is going to be. So I don't think I'm quite ready yet to start adding that stuff in, but it's something to be mindful of. There's a lot to be mindful of. So here, I think I'm going to add, I'm looking at this curve and this point. This point happens underneath the eye. And then right now I have this kind of lined up with the eye, so I'm going to add more weight to the bottom here. And then I'm going to add more weight here. Every line that's given to you by the artist you need to use and compare it. Comparing is very important. So where this geometry is a little large, so let's refine this a bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and just draw across a custom loop all the way across, because I don't want this going down the arm. I'm working on the face, so I'm going to isolate it within the face. So then here I get to go ahead and round this off a bit to get this arc going. Let's get multi, since there are a lot of points, and then we'll hit Control Spacebar, and then we'll grab our move tool, and then we'll go to tweak mode. And we'll just tweak this all out. Multi. There we are. Like, what's wrong? What did I do? Alright, so we'll grab you. And actually, let's turn off tweak. And then hit Control, click, so then we can get this back. So then, by getting this back, I'm talking to all three axes. I had it locked from before, so I was only able to move in a couple axes. So here, this is an instance where you have a tri and five-sided. I can worry about that now, or I can worry about that later. I'm kind of tempted to address it now, but I'm just going to move my points around and just get to it when I get to it. This I'm going to pull up, and this is going to kind of be a buffer for the end cranium in the front of the face. So I'm going to pull that up here. Let's see. And I know why I pulled that down to begin with. That was for this arc. So when I add more geometry, which I can here, I'll just pick this up, pull it up here, split the head. I'm just going to leave that there for now, and then I'm just going to go ahead and just pull this up. For the back of the head. So now this is still that center line. This is going to represent this little poof that we're getting in the cheek area. And then now this is helping to define that. I'm pulling this back. Let's get our multi mode. And then with tweak enabled, and that tweak, something else. So let's go ahead here, double click you, tweak. So now I get to refine the shape a bit more. So I'm refining this more. And I wasn't able to do this before because I didn't have enough geometry. So as I add more and more geometry, I'm able to refine more and more. And it's all about managing your points. So this shape needs to get smaller right here. This little cranium area needs to get smaller to come up to that nose. Okay, so that's not feeling horrible there. We definitely are really short on geometry though. And then this guy, looking at this, we have a lot of this coming in to the face. So this geometry coming in the head, I'm going to delete this and just kind of draw this across the face. So we'll grab our split poly tool, we'll draw this across the face. And I'm kind of, we can terminate it here, and then that will get rid of one of the 5-sideds that I had mentioned before, but I'm just going to keep it here for now. So this is coming down, this is coming back, this is our center line here, this will come up to help support this shape here, and then bam, bam, bam. So I'm just refining this back some more now that I have the shape to define it, or the geometry to define it. And that's something to be careful of. Once you have more pieces of geometry, with the tweak mode, it doesn't care what you're clicking on, whether it's a component or not. So that's something to be wary of. And that's where a creative use of layers may come into play. So now that neck is feeling longer, which is good. Then it's also feeling a little too thick now that we brought all those points up. So let's bring these in. Cool. I probably will have some of this geometry come across and play around with the topology a bit as we go on. But right now, I think we're doing pretty good. You know, we're nailing shapes. It's starting to really feel like our character here. And there are a couple of points that I want to bring up some more. I want to bring up the ears. I want to rough in where the ears are going to be. I want to shape out the legs a little bit more before we can call this maybe the next step. So we did kind of our first step, and then this is getting pretty close to being the next step. Step 2. That's a little too much, so we'll go edit mesh, insert edge loop option box, relative, bam. Looking at this, I might want to arc this a bit more. More of an arc here. That's weighted towards the bottom, or looking at it this way, towards the right, which is how it feels. It feels like that's how this arc would be, weighted closer towards the outside. Let me start pulling this down. Alright, so I'm looking at this. A lot of the time I'll have topologies come from the top of the brow down and around, which is what I did here, but this isn't actually the top of the brow. More so the top of the brow is here. So that's something to keep in mind once we're adding more geometry. Maybe take this and just loop this around under the chin instead of having it come from up here. Cool. Looking at this, we have the nose, and then we have this angle here. We have our nose, and we have an angle that comes down. That lets me know that this shouldn't be flat where it is currently. So we'll go ahead and I'll make sure to adjust that. Adjustments are fun. Cool. So now that gives me more space between the eye and that muzzle. The eye should more or less kind of be like this. Let's turn off tweak so I can just slide that back in Z. Same here. Whoop. So I just want to flatten that out a bit. And the eye is going to be kind of round where the center bulges out a little bit. So that's something to keep in mind. Cool. So let's go ahead and block in an ear. So the ears are weighted way on the top. Okay, that's kind of how the design is. If we brought them too far down, there are so many features far below. It won't feel even. So the ears, I think they'll live. Let's see. Here's a center. Our center line's coming up here, this way. So we'll know that the ears come past this line. What I'll do, I'll continue this edge across. Let's grab the proper tool. We'll bring this across here, and then we'll grab this will be towards the end of the eye. So that would be, yeah, we'll just grab these three here, and then we'll just extrude this out, shift right click, and then just start pulling that out. And then these things seem to be coming back a bit. So this would be kind of a rough out for our ear. So now I can start pulling this in a little bit, start playing with these shapes. So round that out. We start doing something like that. We'll definitely need more geometry in here to get better shapes. Right now, things seem to be collapsing out a bit. So I was able to get kind of a roughed out ear shape in here. Let's add a little bit for the leg. And with this, I'm going to start isolating the geometry because I don't want things to get too crazy. So I want to add the geometry just here so I can get that shape that I was envisioning, this kind of round shape here. So now I can go ahead and do that. Kind of bulk that out a little bit. Bam, bam. Cool. And then this can continue on once I'm happy with the shape and am confident of where I'm taking it. So you can think of, I'm sure you hear the general to specific rule a lot, but really, yeah, that's how you're building up the character, but more so you're building up the confidence that you have of knowing what you're modeling, really. So starting strong and being bold with your shapes, you have a lot of confidence, and as you start giving your character a direction, you're going to want to refine it some more and be more careful, but your guidelines are already there. You have most of the work already done, so just things to think about. The base of the tail, I'm going to round this off some more. Cool. And then we're going to start seeing that up-res technique in here a lot. I'm going to probably draw some geometry here, and then we can maybe get a sneak peek of it like right now. So if we go to our edit mesh, split polygon tool, and we'll, whoops. You know what? I'll just shift right click, bam. Let's come around here. So this is a perfect area where I would do an up-res. Now, there are patterns in geometry where you get two either tris or five-sided, or a tri and five-sided together, and then once you get that, you can weld them together, and that will effectively clean up the geometry, if I were to do kind of air quotes for that. But in this case, it reduces your geometry, and right now we're really low on our geometry, so I'm actually going to want to add more geometry and clean that up. So to do that, I'm going to do kind of an up-res. So I'm going to grab either one of these, it doesn't matter which one. I'm just going to delete it and just draw it down the tail. So that gives me more geometry, and it's a start to clean that up. Remember, when you're working, you're either moving points, adding points, or deleting them. Don't be afraid to do any of the three. If you start doing one or the other, or if you start doing things you're not even aware of what they are, you'll end up getting stuck fast. So let's round off that shape a little bit. That's definitely feeling better. We'll grab you, round it off. All right. So now that leaves, if you're worried about cleaning things up, which is vital, which is important, we have this five-sided that we can figure out. Now, there are a couple points, a couple places we can bring this. We can take this, and from any one of these corners, we can draw an edge. Bam. So we can draw this down. That'll give us more geometry coming down here. We can draw this across. That'll give us more geometry coming across here, which may not be bad at all. Or we can take this and just draw it across this way. Okay. I'm not quite sure where I would want to bring that. I don't have that confidence, so to speak, yet. Either way, we're so early in the game, it didn't seem, either one of those choices didn't actually look too bad. I don't know if I mentioned, I can probably take this and also bring it into the tail as well, but I didn't like that as much. Maybe. Maybe that will work. If I were to do it, I would need to move points around in order for it to make sense to me. But I feel that a lot of this is stretching. So no, I won't do that that way. So I'll keep it. I'll use it as a wild card and figure out where that's going to go later. So rounding off some of these shapes here. Rounding it off on the profile this way. I need to pull these out some more. Kind of get an arc coming here in that leg. This is flat, so let's round that off. There we are. So that's not too bad. And then we have this, which we can up-res in a bit. Now we have kind of hands, we have kind of a head in place for the most part. And I did move something. Something is off. Let's see, is the connection? It's still connected. Yeah, I moved that up. So let's see where this is. This is in 0, and that. We'll copy this and position that here. Oh, I did something to offset these. Interesting. So Y Y is 9.403. 9.403. Scales are the same. Not that big of a deal. We'll just move this up. And then back. I was just not quite sure when I did that. I just kind of noticed it. And then move you in. I'll just leave it. Cool. So, there we go. So, we have that we're playing with. Now let's kind of get some feet in here. We'll insert edge loop. Again, that'll shift right mouse button click. So then we have the bottom foot, and then we kind of have the top portion. We can get that in later, but let's just go select these, extrude it out, and pull it out. Round it off. Pull that down here. And since I have an edge here, I can take this and just draw it around, and that will kind of clean things up a little bit. Bring you there, bring you here, and then full circle. I can collapse this down here, collapse. And then this, let's see, I can either draw this down and around. I'll try that. I'm just going to delete all this here. Goodbye. Yeah, you just got to be careful, not to be careless. So now I can grab this, I'll just collapse that, shift right click, collapse edge. A way to see if geometry is on top of each other, one is to hit 3, and if you see any weird shapes, you probably want to clean that up. Another one is your vertex face. If you see any lines, that means that if I grab a face here, extrude, and then just go to vertex face, you can see I have these lines coming across, and that's going to let me know that that I have no geometry. Some bad geometry there. So let's just go ahead and just shape this out. Remember to be bold with your moves. So we'll go ahead, we'll do that. And then we'll take this and just bring this across. Up. Bam, boom, bada bing. Clean that up. Delete edge. So we have we have a better shape here. Well, not a better shape in comparison, but we have a shape that's further, getting further along. And I think this is a good place to have our next phase, you know? So we can definitely save this out. File, save scene as. And move on to the next part. So we'll go red panda, blockout, red panda, block, blockout.